Well, the time is just gone 9:37 a.m. as we continue on this beautiful day of Jummah. And Alhamdulillah, once again, oh, this is wonderful. This is great news. And every time there is an opening of a masjid, a place of worship, the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it brings us so much joy as a Muslim ummah. And we know that the entire world is a place of worship. But the masjid, a very, very special place for any community. And Alhamdulillah, the Emdeni community in Soweto today will be witnessing this historical moment, the Emdeni Masjid grand opening. And this morning, just looking at the program for the day, Alhamdulillah, there was such a wonderful program line up from the Qirat to the formation of the organization, talking about the way forward and also looking at the history of Islam in Emdeni, which will be given by Hafiz Yahya Jantjie. I see Maulana Ibrahim Bam will be a speaker as well. And it's just so many. Sheikh Muhammad Milanzi, Brother Mubarak Kuneni, Comrade Tulani Butalezi. So many people. And they've got a full program lineup for the day here with this grand opening. And to tell us more, we are joined by the Imam at the Emdeni Muslim Association and also a Madressah teacher, Imam and Hafiz Yahya Jantjie. Imam Hafiz Yahya, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jummah Mubarak to you and welcome.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and Juma Mubarak to you and the dear ones.
Well,
And
clearly, this is a Jummah to remember, a Jummah that will stick out for you, Hafiz Yahya, with the opening, the grand opening of the Emdeni Masjid. Alhamdulillah, it is a
Alhamdulillah,
wonderful moment, a defining moment for you personally, and I'm sure even for the community of Emdeni.
very much. It's long overdue, and we have been awaiting and trying so much and so hard to have a masjid in this area, from acquiring plots, empty plots, which a lot of red tape in our municipality, and we couldn't get through, and successful applications. But Alhamdulillah, then we decided to buy a, a shop, which was a bottle store. I grew up in the area, it was a bottle store, and now Alhamdulillah, today converted into a masjid. With
Allahu
that,
Akbar. From a bottle store to a masjid, and I'm just looking at the picture. What a beautiful structure. Alhamdulillah. You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it possible, and I'm sure the community is extremely elated at the prospect of this grand opening. Take us through a bit of, I know you're going to be presenting the history of Islam in Emdeni, just to give us a brief overview on some of the history behind this community and the Muslims, Islam in particular in Emdeni.
Alhamdulillah, the effort of Islam started long time ago in Emdeni, before I even became a Muslim. Uh, Dr. Ismail, who used to reside in Lens, is a medical doctor, a GP practicing in Emdeni. He's been having Madressah classes sometimes in his surgery, in his own surgery. I witnessed that before I even became a Muslim. And in people's back rooms, when I became a Muslim, we used to conduct our Madressah lessons and Salah, Tul Jum'ah, and all our Salah in people's back rooms. One of the houses that was used, it was my grandmother's house, who was a non-Muslim, and my auntie's house, which she is a Muslim, alhamdulillah, Auntie Halima, and played a significant role in this community. Then we used a garage at the late Kok Fatima, very old lady who became a Muslimah, in our hands as well. Then we used the masjid that we are currently using now, the Jamaat Khana, which is a shop where it used to be a bottle store also. when I grew up. And Alhamdulillah, we managed to make a Jamaat Khana since 2007. We've been using it as a Jamaat Khana, Alhamdulillah. And we are now going to be using the permanent masjid, which we tried so many avenues to get the masjid over the years. We've been trying and trying, but not getting it right. But Alhamdulillah, this time with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it became a success. And Islam started very strange in this community where we are marginalized, that we have entered a foreign religion. It was very difficult at those back in the days to become a Muslim. And with family abandoning you, that you have become a Muslim and withdrawing their support from you. And we still experience it up to date. There are few youngsters that have become Muslims in this community. So it's an ongoing, a recurring occurrence that people become Muslims and then they are marginalized by their own families because they have become Muslims. But Alhamdulillah, it's not like before. The community have accepted us as Muslims, and even those who abandoned us when we became Muslims in our very own families have also become Muslims. Alhamdulillah, we have managed through our character, through our effort of da'wah, to influence them in becoming Muslims. As you can see on the lineup of the speakers, we don't want to have just an opening of the masjid, but we are also having senior comrades of this area, which we were engaging even when we needed plot. We are having the speakers. This is strategic and dawah on its own, so that they see what the masjid looks like. But Alhamdulillah, and we have the brother Mubarak that will be doing the vote of thanks. He's one of my students. At some stage, used to take him to crèche. Alhamdulillah. Now he'll be the one that's doing vote of thanks. One of my students, Alhamdulillah. Maulana Yusuf also embraced Islam in our hands, and today he is also one of the Imams of the Masjid. So there is a lot of positive that we can tell that Islam, inshallah, will be growing on the very same street of the Masjid now. We have a person which I grew up with, but a bit senior than me. He has also accepted Islam. People you've never even dreamt of and imagined that they can become Muslims. Because of the Masjid alone, the house of Allah, as you said, is so beautiful. It attracted him to become a Muslim. And there is also a very successful businessman in the area. Because of that Masjid, he said, I would love to come and see what is happening in the Masjid. We need to learn about Islam. So Masjid itself is da'wah. And carrying challenge is that when people become Muslims, if their families don't understand what is Islam, and then they marginalize and they sideline and they abandon them. So, but maybe we should accept it as a recurring challenge. But what I love and my experience with the people who oppose and give us challenges and abandon us when we become Muslims in the later stages, they also become Muslims. Alhamdulillah, we have got many of them that we can relate to, and ones that we can point out that this is my aunt. She used to be very anti-Islam, and today, alhamdulillah, because of understanding. So we've also realized that people are not anti-Islam or Islamophobia. it is because of the lack of information. But once people start understanding Islam, they also understand that Islam is a way of life and very close to African traditions. Alhamdulillah.
Yes, Alhamdulillah, Hafiz, yeah. In fact, from what you're saying, and it's so encouraging to hear, when you speak about people like Maulana Yusuf, when you speak about people like Brother Mubarak Kuneni, who were your students, and they've all come into the fold of Islam, Alhamdulillah. So over the years, Alhamdulillah, what this tells me is there has been a very, very strong foundation that has been laid in Emdeni already. And the structure, the masjid in itself now can only strengthen that foundation, can actually just grow from here, alhamdulillah. And also at the same time, you being a madrasa teacher as well, the young ones requiring education, and that also will go a long way in inspiring future generations to come into the fold of Islam, but also at the same time laying the groundwork was through the madrasa and through the masjid for the growth of Islam in the area.
Yes, inshallah. It will definitely. I think now they now call me a grand imam. And Alhamdulillah, I've never realized that I've become a grand already.
Yes.
But we are still humble and we remain the humble students of Deen. One thing I forgot to mention, Dr. Ismail has been very instrumental in making this community vibrant. As I've mentioned earlier on, that at some stage he would even sacrifice and have madrasa classes in his surgery. But because it appeared unprofessional, uh, we had to look for premises where at the later stage, we had to form an organization. And that's how Emdeni Muslim Association was formed. It was first Hidayatul Islam. I had named it Hidayatul Islam because of the love for dawah, that the organization should invite people to Islam. And alhamdulillah, it is one of the first organizations that have a mixture of nationalities, and where we have our um, our Indian executive members, and we also have the townshippers, African indigenous executive. And I realized that we have done so much because of joining bridges and working together. And this is what Allah loves. So if Muslims can hold hands in this country and globally, they will do tremendous work, because all that Allah wants and needs from us is that we join hands and we work together. So Dr. Ismail has been very, very instrumental in even in terms of mobilizing funds, uh, coming with strategies that how can we have a masjid. Because at one stage, I remember when I was still a new Muslim, we would overload his car going to Lens for Juma, or maybe going to Dlamini, which is also the same distance. It covers the same distance as going to Lens. But we made Juma. So Emdeni Muslim Association was informed by all these challenges that we should have our own Juma in Emdeni. Alhamdulillah. And since then, we have been playing that role to ensure that we form a Muslim community in Emdeni. Alhamdulillah. Now it's not um, as perfect as we would love to see it, but we do have hope in Allah that we will not leave this world, inshallah, before we see a fully functional Muslim community. Now that we have a masjid, I think we have a training ground that we can utilize and assure that every Islamic desired program that we want to implement will be implemented, inshallah. And then the Muslim Association is also going to have a computer lab where even non-Muslim children, despite of a religious background, they will also be coming to take a benefit from accredited trainers who would be training those children. So we are trying as much as we can that we do not keep a masjid just for salah, but we want to imitate the masjid of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which at some stages it was even used as prison to detain um, those who had erred, and it was never used only for salah. It was used for community programs. It was used to uplift people's lives, and it was used to link people with Allah. So, Alhamdulillah, we wouldn't love to have the masjid that only attracts Muslims to come and perform salah in the masjid, but to also attract non-Muslims. And we also have a program of math and science of a teacher who also became a Muslim in our hands, and he's one of the teachers in the high school in near Emdeni, teacher Bilal Pribi. Alhamdulillah, may Allah bless him. He's also doing tremendous work. He's tutoring Muslim and non-Muslim children in the masjid. He was doing it in the Jamaat Khana. Now that we have better facilities, Alhamdulillah, we won't have children doing their maths on carpets, but we have them doing them on desks, because the Muslim Association now has classrooms as well. Alhamdulillah. At some stage, we even had to rent the nearby school in Emdeni to run our Madressah programs there, because there was so much of children that are attending Madressah. And now, Alhamdulillah, we have our own. I think we are going to use it to our maximum benefit and finish ourselves, inshallah, in making sure that whoever comes across that center lives inspired, inshallah.
Well, inshallah, Hafiz Yahya, in fact, I think you and I can actually go on talking for much longer, but unfortunately, time has run out. But Alhamdulillah, looking at the program for the day, mashallah, a very, very good program, Alhamdulillah, all encompassing. And we see even people like Tariq Owais Malinga, who is going to be present there. The Honorable Nasib Tarsot is going to be there as well. Qari Abdul Malik Rajab, Alhamdulillah, and I mentioned Mulana Bam as well. So, Alhamdulillah, very, very power pack, in fact, I would say a jam pack and also a power pack program. Alhamdulillah. We wish you well. We wish the community of Emdeni well, the Emdeni Muslim Association as well. Alhamdulillah. Once again, we are inspired by what we have heard from you, and more importantly, this masjid, inshallah, will take this community from strength to strength, inshallah, in more ways than one. As you mentioned, it is not only for the 5 times salah, but it's going to be used in more ways than one. And that reminds us of Masjid al-Nabawi of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, which after this interview, I'm actually going to the beautiful city of Medina to link up with one of the Hajis who is overwhelmed with emotions at his first Hajj. So we are going down to Medina Munawwara. But for now, all the best to you, inshallah. Allah accept, Allah reward all your efforts. And inshallah, we will only see the growth of Islam emanating from Emdeni with the opening of this masjid, inshallah. So Allah accept, Allah reward all your efforts, and everybody else as well. Please pass our well wishes on behalf of Salam Media to each and
Inshallah.
everyone who has been involved. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Hafiz Yahya Yankee with us, and from a place where a bottle store once stood, and today, proudly, Alhamdulillah, and it is only the mercy, it is only with the help, and it is only with the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that a masjid is standing on that very ground where a bottle store once stood. Next up, we've got Brother Ridwan Zoutenberg out of the beautiful city of Medina Munawwara.